Hello, everybody. This is Lothos, the creator of the TRP Total Realism Project mod, and this is a game that I'm playing against as the allies against Machiafish, who I've played several games now against. He's a good player. I've taught him well. He's learned a lot from me about the game engine and stuff like that. Our last game was actually quite epic. We did have to cut it short because we discovered some major air bugs in the mod towards the later war. You didn't notice them in the beginning of the war or early mid war, but in towards the 1943 or so became apparent. So we restarted our games recently, and I decided to maybe it's a good idea to start doing a video of our games. This Allied game has already started. We are on turn 11 according to things, so it's roughly, if you want to be on a turn per person basis, we're roughly turn 6, just shortly after the fall of Poland. And I'm playing the Allies on this one. I figured it'd be good. Everybody always sees the Axis and how that's all going, and I wanted to show people how to play, or conceptually where I'm going at with the mod on a long-term playing as the Allies. I see a lot of players. Some people post their games online and stuff. And yes, I'm going to review what he did on last turn. I don't suspect there's going to be much, maybe a little bit in China, but not much else. Everything else is him, the Germans moving stuff over. But I want to show people that in World at War TRP, you have to think more long term. A lot of people, as soon as the United States comes into the war, they start building armor and tanks, infantry, and so on, and forget the whole Pacific. I recently had a game with somebody where I was playing the Axis, and they did the same thing. Well, I'm sorry. Yes, they did the same thing, and I basically was running around taking Australia, New Zealand, and I was doing whatever I wanted with the Japanese. So that game was basically gonna, even though he may launch an early D-Day, it wouldn't have mattered because Japan was going to attack Russia at some point and just force them to collapse from within. So, anyways, just going to show everybody how I do work this with the Allies, and conceptually how China's supposed to work. There is some changes from previous versions that people saw in the videos. This is the most recent version of the mod. Oh, Poland was still alive. It's a little longer. I think the mistake he made here is he didn't put enough. If you see the Stuka is still inside German territory. When invading Poland, it's very important that you move all of your German units inside the Polish border. If not, you can run into instances where the die roll just keeps going against you and they won't surrender. The more German units you have, the higher the percentage is of the actual surrender. I think this is like the third turn now he's had Warsaw. Yes, I have those 2 planes all the way up in the eastern Poland, but it's not to deny him, deny Poland surrender. It's actually to deny him the national marines, because if I left him there, he could destroy them, and he gets about, between the 2 planes, almost 400 national marines. So conceptually, that's really why I have him over there. If Poland doesn't surrender this round, I'd be completely in shock. Because there's nothing left. He did suffer quite a bit of casualties. Yep, Poland surrendered. Some new equipment arrived in China. The Chinese Air Force, I know you get some. I recommend you kind of don't use them. Keep them grounded. Don't let them intercept. You don't want to really be paying all the MPP. So the very first thing, set mode, ground. You don't want them flying around. So if you notice here, this pocket, he's trying to cut my retreat off by moving that cavalry around. I am going to shift some troops around here. Let's see. He's got the mud. Bad weather's coming in, which is good. And you'll notice from my builds, I built a lot of communist units. Right in the beginning, you need to build communist units. The air unit is usually the first thing you want to build so that they all come in. So you can basically form this wall right here. The reason why you want to form this wall right here is this rail junction is what keeps your supply in these areas up high. See, 9, 9, 10, 8, 10. If you lose this rail line, these will also lower to 5, and it makes it a bit difficult to keep them up. Okay, so let me start playing a little bit here. He advanced over here. I see that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my headquarters up here to do a quick scout. And all he's got is a garrison unit there. So I have a big decision to make. I could try to launch a counterattack in this area to draw him back down, or retreat. Unfortunately, I'm mud. I'm going to take some time to think about this before I make my move. On this spot here, he's still trying to reorganize himself, so I'm just going to reinforce still because I got maximum entrenchment. And I'm going to try to hold on to this spot. Because I know he doesn't have too many troops down here. He doesn't have too many troops down here. So I'm going to whatchamacallit, try to hold off, just prevent him. He will eventually get it. There's nothing I can do to stop him. So it's just a matter of preventing and buying myself time. All right, so let's go take a look at a few other places on the map. This guy, Garrison, he starts out here in Delhi. I'm slowly marching him down. There's no rush, and I'm doing it because I don't want to pay the MPP. So I'm just slowly marching him. The Australian ship, this guy was located all the way in the Mediterranean. I'm actually bringing him all the way down here into the Pacific because he does not count against the ship caps. So I'm just parking the Australians on the Australian coast. This guy started over in Indochina, so I'm bringing him slowly over to hang out with the rest of the French fleet. These ships here, I just keep them here. I actually saw, it was kind of funny and ingenious. Somebody had played a multiplayer game and they had the Italians just come out here and invade the islands over here. It doesn't really change things much. It's just kind of funny. You could, even if the Italians did it, you could just ignore them. They could potentially use it as a refuel base. It doesn't help Japan because they don't cooperate. Yeah, it's kind of funny. But anyways, I just put the ships here to sort of block it so we can't get any surprises. My strategy here is I try to put, and it's going to sound strange, the infantry corps into the front, closest to Germany. And the reason for that is I want them to die first. I put them in main hub locations so they dig in, and as the Germans advance, they'll have to attack it, and there's they'll lower the supply. there's about 80 to 100% chance, or you will lose, but what do they call it? Scorch earth. Lose about 80 to 100% of the resource plus whatever is lost by them attacking it and stuff. So you want to get these resources down to zero as the Axis are advancing. The reason for putting the infantry corps up into the front instead of garrisoning units is you want them to die because they come back fast, early. You rebuilt them right away, and then you'll have them by the time the Germans get to this location here, or in these areas here, they'll be coming back. If you put them in the middle, you're going to be getting garrisons back. They're nice, but they're not as effective as infantry corps. Murmansk, it was redesigned in, I think, the previous release to here. So this is actually closer to how it's historically formed. There's a big, huge river, and Murmansk is on the right side of that river. The old map had it on the left, and they didn't really have this big river. And this river is so big, I don't think it's even crossable back then. So this new design makes it a lot easier for the Axis to, or the Allies, the Russians, to defend it. So this is extremely important because these supplies are your lifeline. I do recommend for people who are playing the Allies, if you're playing somebody you know and you're used to, you don't have to do my recommendation. But if you're playing somebody you don't know and they're the Axis, I've seen some players literally take their entire submarine fleet, park it right here before the war starts. And then as soon as Finland joins, they fly like quite a few planes. Not just one, not just two, but quite a few planes. They come right here and they start bombing everything because they know how important this route is to the Russians. You're going to get about 110 to 150, depending on the time of year, of MPP per turn. It's significant. So what I tend to do, if I don't know the player and I don't know what's going on, or if I just want to be safe because the Russian Air Force I don't really use, at least not for the first until like 1943, I send my planes up here, and it's mainly as a scout. I don't like bombing Pitsamo. If the Axis player that I'm playing against doesn't move planes up here, even though I have strategic bombers, I won't bomb it, simply because it just feels wrong. The supply system is just too simplistic in this game, and the Finns should not be collapsing on the first turn of the game because all the Russians have to do is on the very first turn is bomb that, and it's pretty much over because they bomb it. This goes down below 5, and then the Finns are stuck. They can only bring stuff here, and obviously that would be the very next target. So if the Russians bomb this, get it down to about a 2 or 3, then they can bomb here, and that leaves it down here. And this is pretty much an automatic win for Finland. I mean, for the Russians. So I just don't do it. It just seems wrong. I only keep the Air Force up here mainly for subs. If I see that the Axis players bringing subs here, I will bomb them. Or if it's one of those Axis players that plays to win instead of playing to have fun, and their whole they basically did a concentrate all firepower on that superstar destroyer type concept, then that's my counter. As soon as I see those planes, I'm going to start bombing here to make sure that those planes never have enough supply to do anything, and I keep it down. I personally don't like playing those kind of players, but if you run into one by accident, try to finish the game. If it gets too overbearing, then just let it go. Resign. All right. So why am I moving these garrisons? So this garrison started in Oran. I'm moving to Algiers. This one started down here, and I'm moving into Tunis. One is these guys in Tunis cannot be transported out. These guys in Algiers can be transported out, and the guys in Morocco can be transported out. I do not recommend removing the garrison unit. You need to leave something on Algiers, and I do recommend the French player has plenty of MPP to make sure you reinforce it, get it up to at least strength 8, and then just before Italy joins the war, you want that French fleet to be around here somewhere in this area, general vicinity, in case you get an Axis player who's trying to go for the quick conquest of Tunisia or Algiers, because if they conquer it, they will keep it, even if Vichy's formed. So you want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So I found a neat thing with this when you're doing patrols is you just make the destroyers into a chain, so it's easier on your mouse clicks. You see how I got this guy here and then this guy here? I go here, and then I click on the next guy, and then I go here. And I don't have a guy yet in this part of the chain. So it's still very early in the game. I don't have all my destroyers in yet. So some of the stuff I have to do random is just in case my opponent is moving things around. As for weather storms, for the destroyers, I kind of ignore them. I just send them where they're supposed to go, regardless of weather. And then if it's carriers, I do shift them. Because I don't want them to take the damage. I need them to always be available in case we spot some subs. I keep my ships in port because just before the invasion of France, I will upgrade all their anti-aircraft on them. It's the British Navy is going to have to at some point engage and get into close combat to the coast with the Axis. So Norway, I'm jumping around a little bit, and because I know the mod quite a bit. You saw that French sub right here. I'm trying to hit the Norway convoy line a little bit. You need to keep this below 20%. If it gets to 20% or higher, there's a strong possibility that the Norwegians will stop the mining event, and you don't want them to do that. It has very long-term effects on the game. The Germans will get more MPP from Sweden all year round, including in the winter. The convoy line will not shut down. So they'll be collecting a lot more. It's not worth it. You got to think, in my games when I play, I always think long term. So some people don't care and they'll just do whatever. I'm just hitting it a few times. Every MPP counts over time. So a little bit here, a little bit there. It doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of the game, it does add up. So maybe one or two more times I'll hit the convoy line. I'll stop around 12% or so because I just don't want to risk forgetting a turn. People have had that happen to them, me included, and then having it all of a sudden be over 20%. So maybe one or two more turns and then I'll pull them out. I want to cover something with the French that I did on first turn. First turn of the game, I left anti-tanks because there is a small chance that you will get them. All the other ones, infantry weapons, ground attack weapons, anti-aircraft defense, and armored warfare and logistics, there is like an 80% or 90% chance that you will get all of those techs before France surrenders. I always put the MPP into aerial warfare as well for the French because the British have it. So the British automatically give a bonus to the French. And again, this is like an 80 to 90% chance of you getting it even before the invasion starts of the Low Countries. So I always put the 100 MPP into that. Spying and intelligence is literally 0. You won't get that before the fall of France. So I get rid of that one in the very first turn of the game of the French, and then I build this anti-aircraft gun. Once the anti-aircraft gun is done, the second turn is when I do the aerial research. And then after that, I just start buying units the long term. I just look for how long the unit's going to take, and that's what I build. I build whatever that is first. So in this case, I want to do the fighters because I built the tactical bomber, and I'm building all the fighters. And I'm just going to go down the list. At some point, you're going to want to build the Syrian, Senegal, and the Morocco Infantry Corps. You want to build those guys before you actually build the French ones so that you have time to transport them across and from the Med into France. So for Russians, a lot of research in the beginning. Infantry warfare, aerial warfare, you reach research when you're actually done with all the other major ones. Advanced fighters is the next one I'm going to do. As you can see all the other ones, I'll do that one next. And then after him, then I'm going to put into infantry warfare and aerial warfare. The reason for that is advanced fighters has to go 5 levels. These guys only go 1 level. So I need to keep these guys up first before I do these guys, because these are only a 1 and done, and these are a 5 and done. So simple strategy to that. All right, British. The British, you want to research literally everything. And there's a couple of reasons. One is they use it. And then the second one is it actually helps the Americans. So if the British are up on everything, and for some reason the Americans aren't able to keep up on research, when they do join the war and they get all the MPP, they will catch up extremely fast because they will piggyback off of what they'll get bonuses because of the British. So I've had it happen before, and the Americans had to fall behind because of Cuba and Colombia not shifting quickly enough so that they can get enough MPP to start researching everything. And that was a way to help them move faster. For the Americans, I always started with everything that says 0 first. Some of these have 1, yeah, but I think they started the game with that already. But try to do the ones that are 0, and then you do the ones that are 1. Don't really have much to move. These are going to be short terms. Battleships. I got all of the English battleships here because they can now damage units. Battleships and dreadnoughts can actually damage soft and hard target units when they're doing shore bombardment. So they lost their ability to hit resource points, but they have the ability now to hit actual units. So they could come in handy when I want to launch offensives here with the British. All right, let's go figure out what I want to do finally here in China. So one thing you notice about the China is the weather differences. So this center area here basically has the same weather patterns as Europe. So, and they're the same time zone. So July and August and so on, June, July, August, even part of September, the weather is really nice in this middle area. Down here, and during that same time period, basically it's kind of the monsoon period where you get a lot of rain, a lot of mud, just bad weather down here. So during the winter months of this center area, which you can kind of call it somewhere between October, November-ish to March, April, the weather down here in the south will be nice. So as the Japanese, you want to be able to switch back and forth based off of your weather. I don't know if my opponent is aware of that. I am when I play the Axis, so I will shift my offensives because I always want the nicer weather. The thing with China is you have to decide when you're playing the Axis, if you're the Axis, is how far you want to go, because the more deeper you go, the more expensive it's going to get in losses if you're playing a Chinese player who knows how to play defensively anyways. All right. Well, let's do this. I'm going to make him a 10. I hate to do this way, but I'm going to hope that the weather's bad on his turn. Bring him down. Reinforce. That leaves me 154. I know he doesn't have an Air Force yet. He only has one bomber and one TAC bomber, so I have a lot of leeway, and this is a hill. So I'm going to get bonuses. I'm actually going to bluff that I'm launching an offensive to see if he will pull back some troops. So if I can get him to just basically stutter and move something here, it just takes a little bit of pressure there off. If I don't have the weather, and he may consider bringing like the cavalry unit back down or something. I want to bring that headquarters back. I got what I needed. My intel gave me what I needed to know. All right. So let's take a look at diplomacy. As the Allies, you always want to start with Saudi Arabia first, and you want to put 2 British chips and 1 French chip. The reason for that is you get 15% chance. Now, the way the diplomacy works, this is not anything I modded, but it's the way that the developers did the executable, is that it subtracts whatever your opponent puts in. So if I have, like you see here, I have a 15% chance. I'm getting 10% from the British and 5% from the French. If the Axis put, let's say, 2 tokens of their own in there, each token worth 5%, so they got 10% there. That means that they have 0% chance of shifting Saudi Arabia, but I have a 5% chance of shifting Saudi Arabia because they take the 15 minus their 10, which shifts it down to 5. I mentioned that this calculations because it comes in handy in the later war for the Allies, that if you figure out where the Axis are focusing their chits, you have more chits as the Allies. You can lock the Axis ones up so that they can't shift that country anymore, and then move some of your chits, because you're going to have 1 or 2 extra, depending if Italy's in the war or not, to another country. So in the beginning, the Axis have the lower hand until Italy joins the war and France gets out of the war. Once that happens, actually, no, I'm sorry. World at war. Germany has 2. Japan has 1. England has 3. France has 1. So the Allies technically have more chits, but it's kind of an equal because that extra chit from a different major power is what really gives you that extra oomph, because you are capped at the maximum of 2 chits per country. Per major power. So then once Italy joins the war and France is out, England stands alone with 3 chits. The Axis get 4 chits, but 2 of them are from 2 separate major powers, so you can actually boost any country you want up to 20%, whereas in the British can only get up to a 10% to try to slow you down. So keep that in mind as the Axis player. If you were aggressively, for example, trying to get Sweden into the war, or Spain or Turkey, you have a small window between the fall of France and Russia getting involved, where you have political dominance. So use it wisely. All right, let's see what I purchase. I've got 4 units coming in, and I need to buy this artillery for the communist Chinese. And then I need to buy this anti-air before Operation Z comes in and I get the anti-air from the Russians because I want to get up to a 2. Hmm. Okay. I'm going to buy one more garrison, communist garrison, and then stop. And then hopefully I won't have too heavy losses, or if he kills something, I'm okay with him killing stuff. So if he kills these national units, communist China units, I call them Chinese nationalist units. It's all right if he kills them because you just rebuild them and you put them down here and you build them at a lesser cost. So my HQs are feeding them out at 10, which is good. So he can reach everybody. All right. I think that's about it. Russians don't have moved with the ships down there just to get them out of the way. Garrisoning cities, building forts. Think I got anything else going? All right. I think I did a lot of explaining, trying to have people catch up the turns that I did not have. On the next version of the mod, Zukov won't be here anymore. So um, he won't come into the game until the Siberian troops are called up. So that's been reworked. I kind of did that because in the TRP Europe, you can't get this guy in the Siberian. Siberians are there, but in TRP World, you can rail him all the way to the other side and use him as the Germans are pushing forward, which is kind of not really fair. The Germans, you should not have literally one of the best leaders in the game slowing the Germans down and commanding the units when he wasn't available. All right. I think that is it for now. I don't think I have anything else going on. All right. Let's call it a day. Yes, we want those engineers. That's the Norway thing. I want them to go to Britain. Oh, there was to let people know that there is the event that already passed with the French when they ask you if you want to ban the Communist Party. If you say no, then you're going to get. I changed the text to be more descriptive in the future version, but it will have a small percentage chance every couple of turns of saying that the morale of the French army has gone down because of French basically propaganda. So if you select no, the good part is if you select no, the Russians have more production. There we go. That's it. That's the end of my turn. Have a good day, everybody.